detach from what is toxic. This is rule number one of the 12 laws. It's the first of the 12 laws of inner peace. If we want to be happy, peaceful, healthy, if we want to heal, the first thing we must do is detach from what is toxic. So a friend sent me a link today of a woman named Hannah. She's being talked about on the news and social media because her husband actually killed her and her children. So I'm not going to go into the details of this horrific murder and the way that he did it. But as it turns out, experts noted that this man was a narcissist and she had been trying to escape from him for some time. But no doubt, if she could speak to us today, she would tell us the sooner you can get out of a relationship with a narcissist, the better. In the message that my friend sent me with the link, they wrote something like, uh, yeah, just like you say, narcissists will kill you. The temperament of the narcissist is the temperament of a psychopath, meaning they have a lack of empathy for others. So some of the things that keep you and I from just killing whoever we're upset with is empathy, love, compassion for other people, not wanting to see someone suffer, and morality. And so many narcissists actually lack these qualities. This in turn makes them especially dangerous because any of us can get mad. Any of us could even become a bit controlling. But when a person lacks morality or empathy, they are especially dangerous. But just the mere possibility that a narcissist can kill you, which is very high comparatively, isn't the only reason we need to detach from what is toxic. You see, whatever is toxic is ultimately killing us anyway. So you can die fast, but you can also die very slow. And we are dying a slow death when we stay in a relationship with a toxic person. So in order to apply rule number one, or the first of the 12 laws, we have to be able to get out of relationships with toxic people. So what exactly constitutes a toxic person? And how do we get out? Well, toxic is defined in the dictionary as something that's harmful, causes discomfort, or affects you negatively. Something that's harmful, causes discomfort, or is to your detriment. That's toxic. Something that's harmful, to your detriment, affecting you negatively, causing discomfort. When you recognize that anyone in your life is causing discomfort, even small discomforts, it's time to analyze if you should assert a boundary and enforce the boundary. In all cases, enforcing your boundary is going to involve removing yourself from the person. So when you assert a boundary, you give a person an opportunity to be no longer toxic to you. So you say, hey, would you mind not speaking that loud? Would you mind not swearing around me? Would you mind not? And you give them some parameter of what they could do to be less irritating to you. When they show disrespect and disregard for that parameter, that's everything you need to know. You cannot make a relationship work with a person that doesn't respect your boundaries. I repeat, you cannot make a relationship work with a person that doesn't respect your boundaries, your standards, your parameters. When you say something, I don't care if you are a woman or a man or a child or an adult. If you say, hey, I don't like this in any way, shape, or form, maybe you didn't have the words. You were just like, doesn't matter how you say it. Maybe you were harsh about it. Maybe you were very nice about it. But when you say it, if it is not respected, That's everything you need to know. So I get asked all the time, well, what are the red flags of a narcissist? You don't need all that. It's helpful, but you don't need all that. What you need to know is, does this person make me uncomfortable? And then when I speak up about it, how do they respond? That's what you need to know. And you can't find that out if you don't speak up. So your assertion of your boundaries, is how you find the toxic people. That's how you identify the narcissists. Because after you assert it, how they respond tells you everything you need to know. In case you don't know, because you were just raised around narcissistic and boundary crossing people, this is what respect of a boundary sounds like. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I will try to change. I will try to accommodate. Wow, thank you for informing me of that. I didn't know that. Is there a way that we could make this work? I have some standards too I like to express. Could we find some common ground here? That's what it sounds like when someone respects your boundaries. Everything else is a disrespect. Walking away while you're talking, yelling at you, punishing you, getting angry at you, getting mad, giving you the silent treatment, all the little punishments and things, all of that. You don't fear that. You should pursue it. You want that because that's what tells you who you need to cut out. You don't want to wait to become a news story or to allow the person to just slowly kill you so you can die your death by 1,000 cuts. A narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic person, they don't only just not care how you feel. In most cases, they are actively working toward your destruction. It is as unacceptable for you to stay in that relationship as it is for them to abuse you and harm you. It is as unacceptable for you to stay in the relationship as it is for them to abuse you. It's unacceptable. You are subjecting a human being to torture, to misuse, to abuse. You have to move. You have to move out. You have to disconnect, detach from what is toxic. So, someone that's toxic to you is someone that's abusive. That means they mistreat you. Someone that's toxic to you is someone that neglects you. They neglect the needs that they're supposed to be fulfilling in your life. That's toxic. It's bad for you, so you have to get out. It is toxic, meaning it's poisonous. Neglect can cause us to think wrong things about ourselves, to feel discomfort or harmful feelings. It's toxic. It's not okay. You need to disconnect. Another type of toxic person is someone who is out of alignment with your purpose. That's a toxic person. So they could be a really nice guy, maybe not abusive, just out of alignment with your purpose. Like, let's say you've always wanted to be a model. And so that's the purpose that you're working towards, to become a fashion model. But your uncle, who's a good guy otherwise, is totally against fashion modeling. Then is he the type of guy you want to sit around having conversations with? The answer is no. Your uncle to you is toxic because he is out of alignment with your purpose. Does that make sense? He's out of alignment with your purpose. So recognize in your environment who's out of alignment. If you're trying to be close to God and you got someone who has anti-God ideologies, this person for you is out of alignment with your purpose. They might not be a good associate for you. If you're trying to advance in your job, your career, your business, your corporation, and you have some buddies, some friends from back in the day that have no ambition, lack drive, and don't understand why you have so much ambition, they could be toxic for you, even though they're not bad people. Okay. So toxic is not always about being bad or good. Toxic is about being bad or good for you. If it's out of alignment with your purpose, then it's toxic for you and you must disconnect. So anyone that's not on the way is really in your way. Does that make sense? You need people who are going to help you with your momentum towards where you're trying to go so that you can be successful in life. Also, making the roster of toxic people are people with negative attitudes. So don't hang around the gossipers, people who talk behind other people's backs. It's a really good way to relate and commiserate in the workplace. You get the friend, the buddy, the coworker that come over, and as soon as the boss leaves, they, oh, isn't that boss so? What does he think of? And they got all the talk and the negative talk about the boss. This person is toxic to you, unless it's your firm goal to organize a coup and overthrow your boss. Then why are we wasting time complaining? Why am I sitting commiserating with you about how much you hate your job? It's toxic. Cut it off. There's no point. It's not good for you. It's not helping your inner peace. We don't need the gossip. And that's on a grand level. We don't need the celebrity gossip. We don't need the workplace gossip. We don't need the family gossip. Miss me with that, Aunt Kay, Aunt Jennifer, whatever. Dismiss me with the family gossip. I gotta go. Hey, look, don't call me with that. I'm not interested. Is that how you talk to your family? Yes. Yes. Be less accommodating. Be less nice. Hey, don't talk to me about stuff like that. I'm not interested. That's none of my business. Just like that. It's toxic. Don't allow yourself to get absorbed in that sort of thing. People who manifest destructive behavior, also toxic. So they're sabotaging their own life. They want to party to their own detriment. They overdrink, they overeat, they oversleep, they indulge in drugs and alcohol. These friends are not beneficial to your path. They're not in alignment with your values and your virtues. They don't help you to become healthy and the best version of yourself. So cut them off. Identify them as toxic. The people that the narcissist infects with their toxicity in their smear campaign, you should also cut them off. Well, but that's all my friends and family. Yeah, maybe you'll feel a lot better when you finally cut all your friends and family off. Well, why would I encourage you to cut all these people off? Because they've been infected by the smear campaign. If they've been infected by false information, it's best for you to remove yourself back away from them. And all of a sudden, you'll realize you're not so anxious all the time. And you're not so depressed because you're so worried about what all of these people are thinking about you. So sometimes removing them, like literally moving states away from these people, cities, villages, towns, school, changing your church, your congregation, your parish, your mosque, like getting away from these people is very helpful to facilitating your growth and your healing. In some cases, of course, it's not possible for us to get away right now. Well, then you cut them off emotionally. You don't look for validation from anyone, first of all, but you don't try to have what you used to have with these people who have been infected by a smear campaign. To that aim, anyone that the narcissist is close with, the flying monkeys that the narcissist uses, they're toxic. Cut them off. Well, but what if my brother is a flying monkey to my mom and she's really the problem? Cut your brother off. It could be temporary. Maybe it's just for now. Maybe it's just for a month. But cut them off. And then when they come back to you, you can explain your boundaries to these people. Hey, look, you can talk to me, but don't bring up anything about mom. I don't want to talk about mom. And then that's cool. And then they recognize your boundary. Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to lose you. So now I know the rules in order to keep you in my life. I just don't talk about the toxic thing. Is this how firm we have to be? Yes. Please start thinking in terms of not who can I try to hold in my life, who can I divest myself of? Who can I detach from? Some of these detachments are going to be temporary, but it's going to allow you that space to come into your healing and your happiness, your inner peace. And then later we can reassess if some of these connections can be salvaged. We also have to look at our entertainment. When it comes to detaching from what is toxic, your entertainment can be the toxic thing that you're failing to detach from. So, what are you paying attention to? We have to digest the true crime in moderation. All the true crime documentaries. It can be very exciting learning about this serial killer over here and this psychopathic, murderous villain over here. But too much of that is warping your brain. Let's not forget that they call television programming because it's programs you. Don't allow yourself to get programmed by the wrong messages. There's nothing wrong with knowing about news stories. There's nothing wrong with an occasional documentary, but pay attention. There is an obsession in this sick world that we live in to get into the mind of a serial killer. Tonight, we're going to go deep inside of the mind of the serial killer. Why? We don't, for what? Why? Your brain is like a sponge. Why would you train? Why would you program yourself on this type of schedule? You need to get deep into the mind. And they do it in the fantasy too. They go, this year, it's going to be a movie all about the villain. And where did the villain come from? And why did they become so villainous? Why? It's not about the hero defeating the villain. We're just going into the mind of the villain. Pay attention. Pay attention. A lot of these things do not have your mental health and your well-being at heart. Horror films, things that are glorifying violence. Pay attention. Be thoughtful before you go and jump on the bandwagon. All your friends say, "Oh, we're gonna go see the new scary movie. We're gonna go see. It's this person. They chop up all the other people," and you go, "Stop! Don't go. Oh, well, all my friends are going. Let them go. Let them go. You can't. Your brain doesn't come with an erase button. You realize that. It's not like you get out of the movie theater and you just go and erase everything you just saw. You carry that with you for the rest of your life. Isn't it true? Some of us can remember scary movies we saw when we were a kid. And when we're alone or if it's dark or something, then we're all of a sudden we're jumpy because of something we saw way back in the day. You're a grown up now. It's immature to think you're just going to watch and look at anything and it's not going to affect you. We're affected by what we watch, by what we read, by what we listen to. We're affected. Pornography. The pornography industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but it's toxic. It's not harmless. We've never before in history lived at a time where so much is accessible, so accessible like this. It's not helping. It's leading to more antisocial behavior. It's leading to more uh, crime and violence. Uh, it's leading to a warped view of the human body, of a woman's body. It's a warped view of women, a warped view of sex, the gratuitous nature. We are what we eat. So what you take in is going to affect who you become. So don't just be quick to just take in anything at any time for an instant gratification. Pay attention. Understand what's really behind this. In the industry of pornography, models or actresses, many of these are women who are struggling with their mental health. And some of them don't feel free in their choice and decision to get involved in that industry or truly aren't free. And you're supporting that, even paying for it. Make wise choices for what you will allow to become a part of you and what you allow yourself to become a part of. Speaking of what becomes a part of us, what are we taking into our bodies? I'm not just talking about the sugar and the fat. I'm talking about the mind altering substances. Detaching from what is toxic means that you'll recognize that drugs and mind altering substances could have their place, but maybe their place isn't helping us to detach every day from reality. Maybe that's not the proper use of mind altering substances. Maybe utilizing them to feel some sort of hit of dopamine high or connection to numb our pain. Maybe that's not healthy. Maybe recognizing that some of these things can be habit forming and some of these things can be addictive. And so, therefore, they can be dangerous. Once something has got a hold of you where you think about it as soon as you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed, and all during the day, like nicotine, then it becomes your God. Is that what you want? You want to be worshiping nicotine? You want to bow down on the altar of an addictive substance? You're better than that. You're a human and you're made beautifully in the image of God. So we need to exercise self control in our decisions when it comes to mind altering substances or addictive drugs. We have to use moderation when it comes to alcohol. There's nothing wrong with having a good time with your friends, but isn't drinking too much losing your mental capacities? So we're altering our mind. If you drink too much, then you lose control. And people say, well, that's the fun of it. It sounds toxic to me. Why would I want to not be in control of my person? Why would I want to not be in control to be able to protect my purpose and my person? I can't think of a good reason because it's fun. Who do I trust? Who am I giving control over to? My friends? Alcohol? We need to stay alert. The mind, scientists barely even understand the mind, and you're trying to alter it. A lot of this behavior is escapism because we don't know how to properly cope with our emotions and our feelings and our problems. So let's stop trying to escape from everything and let's learn the tools of healing. We need to detach from what is toxic. For many of us, that's our toxic memories of the past, where we keep turning them over and over. And we're always thinking about everything bad that used to happen to us or that did happen to us. For others of us, it's our trauma bond to our abusive mate or our toxic mate. And so we're stuck in this trauma bond. That is where you love a person, even though they don't love you, or they could say they emotionally love you, but they're to your detriment. So anytime you love someone or something that's really to your detriment, that's a trauma bond. It doesn't make sense. It's like Stockholm syndrome, being in love with your own captor. Your work environment could be toxic if there's harassment, favoritism, pressure that you're working under. So let's identify what's stopping us from detaching right now. Let's end this for ourselves. What's stopping you from detaching from what is toxic? Is it a fear of being alone? Well, if it's loneliness that you're dealing with, go to YouTube, Roman Zanoni, loneliness. You'll learn that loneliness is a perception of the mind. It doesn't get cured by having another human around. Is it that you're holding out hope that that toxic person is going to change? Because if you're doing that, you're focusing on what you cannot control. That's cognitive distortion. You can't control whether they change or not. So the best thing to do is to detach for now and let them become non-toxic before you stay attached to them. But right now, they are toxic. So let's deal in the present. Is it because you have low self-esteem, low self-worth? Well, then change the way you speak to yourself because you don't want the toxic thing that you need to detach from to be your own patterns of thinking. So change the way you speak by focusing on everything that's good about yourself. I can do it. I am capable. I have done things in the past. I am proud of myself. For some of us, we don't want to leave our toxic spouse because we have cultural, religious beliefs that discourage divorce. And so we're like, I have to stay. Or we're financially caught in a situation. We go, I have to stay. So I want you to get rid of the I can'ts and break things down to the details. Look very closely at your religion or your culture to understand, is the purpose of these laws that I abide by or these cultural tenets, is the purpose to keep people in abusive relationships? Or am I maybe misapplying it here? And is there any loophole? Is there any caveat? Meaning, is there an exception to the law? Because you'll find in most religious systems and in most cultural systems, there would be an exception, and you might find that you qualify for it, or you could potentially qualify for the exception to that law. So don't keep yourself caught when you're not truly caught. And if it's financial, well, finances are one of the best problems to have because it's temporary. It's not like health, right? So with money problems, you can either plan and stack your money for that escape, or you can take your escape now, which is more recommended. Take the financial hit and try to overcome the new problems because now your problem won't be toxicity. It could be homelessness. It could be bank accountlessness or joblessness. You could get put into a bad situation financially, but you've now detached from what is toxic. So believe it or not, you can heal mentally, even though your home situation isn't ideal. You can heal mentally, even though your job situation isn't ideal, right? So don't prioritize finances and financial hold and allow yourself to be controlled or beholden to an abuser. And one of the main reasons that people stay in these toxic relationships is the fear of retaliation. They're afraid of how this abuser is going to react if they were to get up and move on. And for that, I say, move smart, but still move. Don't tell them where you're going, what you're doing. Don't tell them that you're planning to leave. Don't say, you're abusive. You're a narcissist. I'm going to leave you. Don't do that. Just keep it to yourself while you put all your ducks in a row. Keep it to yourself while you plan everything out. And you can let them know after you left and after you've protected yourself and you're safe. Then you can give them a text message. Just so you know, I've left the house. I left my keys under the mat, blah, blah, blah. I got movers coming on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. You understand? So you don't tell them, you don't tell abusive people ahead of time what you plan to do. Obviously, if you did that, they would try to stop you or sabotage you or potentially harm you. And we don't want to put ourselves in harm's way. So whatever it is that's holding you back, please understand that staying is worse. It's worse than loneliness. Staying with this person is worse than taking a financial hit. Staying with this person is worse than homelessness. Staying with this person is worse than whatever retaliation they can come up with. It is worse because A, you will end up like Hannah and her children who were brutally murdered, or B, you lose your mind and your mental health and you end up in a hospital, or you lose your physical health and you end up in the hospital. And now you become dependent more so than you already are. Don't allow that to happen to you. Be brave. Detach from what is toxic. And I guarantee to you, you'll be on the road to healing as a result.